event. I'm your host, Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist at Tap the Potential. And today I have Andrea Walker of Smartly Organized joining me, and we are going to talk about the mental health benefits of getting organized in terms of what we as entrepreneurs can be doing right now to take care of our mental health. And also, Andrea and I are going to get into a little bit of strategy. Andrea is one of our Breakthroughs on the Bayou Retreat alumni, and she has been using this time very strategically in her own business. And so we'll talk about how we as entrepreneurs can make the most of this time through the coronavirus event to really position our businesses so that we come back strong when we can go full speed ahead again. I'm hopeful, Andrea, that's going to be very soon for all of us.
I agree.
Yeah. So before we dive in, I want to share with you Andrea's bio. Andrea Walker is a certified professional organizer. She's passionate about helping her clients. As owner and founder of Smartly Organized LLC, a professional organizing firm headquartered in New Jersey, Andrea has been helping discerning clients accomplish their organizing goals since 2010. Her attention to detail and high level of service set her apart from her peers. So I'm very excited to have Andrea with us today. Andrea has always been a valued member at our retreat. She has supported our clients and all of us at Tap the Potential in being more organized and making things flow more smoothly. So Andrea's suggestions are always welcome. And today she's pivoting in her own business and looking for how she can show up and be a gift from her gifts during this time of coronavirus. So Andrea, maybe let's just start here by talking about how did you get into the organizing business and this industry?
Well, thank you, Sabrina, for having me. And I do value the Breakthrough on the Bayou Retreat and all the folks that I've met there and all the leadership from that that has come out of that for me. I spent 24 years in banking, so not super exciting, but it was a long time. And I knew way back at the beginning of my career that I wanted to have my own business. I just didn't know what. I think I always thought it had to be a product, and I was waiting for that product idea to miraculously appear. So organizing is an encore career for me. And in about 2008, 9, 10, the market, we've heard a lot of people talk about the timing and the market and how things changed dramatically for a lot of people. It was no longer fun. I mean, my husband will tell you there were lots of times in the 24 years that it wasn't fun, but it got really unfun around that time. So I decided to take the leap and just leave without really knowing what I was going to do. But they say, you know, if you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. So I thought about all the things that I love. And I came back to interior design, organizing, and real estate. 3 things that just, all my life I've been intrigued by. Well, real estate more as an adult, but certainly interior design and organizing, I was kind of a naturally organized kid. And when I thought about sort of how to combine those 3 things, I realized that all my life I'd really been coming back to organizing, and that it was really powerful for me to feel a sense of control and to basically, it just gave me a lot of power. So I thought that interior design, I've had a banking background, so I really couldn't pivot quite that.
Oh, I think we may have frozen up here. Let's give it a minute and see. Let me see here.
Banking career. So I decided to focus on organizing and being able to layer in the 2 other aspects of it, the way I created my business. Are you able to see me? Because you're a little blurry.
I'm okay on my end. I think we had a little blip, but hopefully for the Facebook Live, it went out to the audience. I missed a little bit of what you said, but I think we're good.
Okay. All right.
We'll march forward here.
Well, anyway, I found that organizing was something, it was an actual industry. It was something where I could get support from an industry group. And it was something I could reasonably leverage my work experience. And there's lots of different areas you can organize, of course. So it was just a matter of me being able to sort of take the leap and start that business. And I've really initially done it very much as a solo, in the sense of, it took me a really long time to pick a coach. And that was, it's not an easy thing to find the right person. But thankfully I did. And it has gotten me to all the people that I work with and that surround me. And we all talk the same language. And I specifically am trying to surround myself with the people that understand the books that I'm reading and the information that I'm trying to apply and grow my business.
So I just want to comment on this a minute, because what I'm really struck by in your journey is you were very thoughtful in choosing an encore career, an encore venture based on where your strengths and your interests lie. And then, I think like all of us who become entrepreneurs, we end up having to learn the business secondary to that, right? And you have been on a very deliberate journey in the years that I've known you to really learn the best strategies for growing a business. So I really appreciate that about you and what you're sharing here about how important it is to have good mentors and tools to learn the business side, because we're all really good at our thing, but the business side of it is a totally different monster.
Sure. And having come out of corporate, I had a lot of infrastructure. I didn't have to think about marketing. I didn't have to think about financials or anything. I mean, I analyzed financials and I have a financial background, and it's still one of those things that I hold on tightly to because I sort of enjoy that aspect of it. It's usually the first thing that people delegate and offload. But I still do all my own financials. I get a little help every once in a while, and I'm sure there's tons that I could be doing better, but I do enjoy that. But I realized that, there was no safety net. There's no other department that I could turn to. Yeah, I was everything. The CEO, the CFO, the marketing director, the finance and accounting, the, sales and marketing and all of that. And it's a lot, no matter how educated you are, it's a lot to do all those things. So
Andrea, I'm curious, what lights you up? What part of what you do now for your clients really lights you up and gives you energy? What's the spark for you in all of this?
It's the transformations, it's the getting the job done. I'm by my nature a doer. So the pandemic is a little bit challenging because I like to do things. I like to see results. So I think it's really just, being able to either, work with a client and accomplish whatever their goal is and get them there and manage that transformation. So that to me, the just before and afters, I guess, is really what it boils down to. And that could be, before a move and after a move. It doesn't have to be, like a bookshelf or a kitchen pantry or something. It's really the process too.
Yeah, because that's when you're not dealing with coronavirus, that's typically how your business runs, is you organize moves, right?
Yes.
That's the majority of what the sweet spot of the business. Okay.
Yes.
So at this point, before we transition into talking about the mental health benefits of getting organized, I want to check in with you and hear how your business is different now, given coronavirus. And one of the things that you've shared with me is how strategic you're being about utilizing this time to work on your business. And I would love to have you share some of that here.
Okay. So we are focused on residential organizing, and it's either home organizing or move management. So we are very much in our client's home and in their stuff. So when you're deemed non-essential, there's a screeching halt to the hands-on work that you can do. And I did have a few, because moving is still essential business, I did have a few projects that kind of transitioned into the early part of the stay-at-home shelter in place. But my team was very much not interested in risking themselves and their families. So it was really challenging. And I have a few clients that are very anxious, that seem, they are very anxious to have us come back into their home. And, we're a little hesitant still. I mean, things seem to be sort of opening up, but we're a little hesitant. So when you are hands-on in someone's home and you're no longer able to, that sort of stops everything. So I've looked at this time basically as a gift. It's not any gift that I would like to get again.
Me either.
Because truthfully, it's a great gift of time, but there's a lot of things going on, obviously, for people outside that may have different, situations that are much more trying, or, they have true grief or whatever. I'm grieving, that I can't exercise and swim, which is a habit I just started to put in place. Now it's shot to heck. And then, my children are also suffering with their schooling situation. So, but despite that, we're all very busy working in our respective places in my home. And I am using it to, work on the back office, get my act together in the back, the things that I've never been able to really focus on, or that are move so slowly because I'm focused on working in the business, not on the business.
So what are some of the things that you're being very deliberate about right now?
So I have been trying to revisit pumpkin planning for a while. And, I finally had the opportunity to put together my wish list interviews and do all that with my ideal clients. And so we've started that process.
Let me pause right there, because we have. Let me pause you right there, because we may have people listening who aren't familiar with pumpkin planning and the significance of what you're doing here. So the pumpkin plan is around identifying the sweet spot of your business, understanding who your top clients are, that are the 20% of your clients that are responsible for 80% of your revenue. Pumpkin planning has significant relevance to strategy during coronavirus, because we at Tap the Potential have been encouraging all of our clients to be in close contact with their top clients and understand their needs and look for ways to serve the top clients based on the gifts that we have, that we can offer, our strengths, and looking for new ways to innovate, new opportunities that are coming out of coronavirus. So Andrea is saying she's pumpkin planned previously. She has done this in the past. She was already due for an update, and now she's just kind of like, I'm getting in there and I'm doing it now, because what better time? So keep going with that.
Right. So just trying to redo some of that earlier work that I'd done, dig a little deeper, look at my ideal client in more detail, roll it out to my team so that they understand a little bit more, get a little bit behind the curtain. They know it, they live it, they breathe it, but it's never really been presented to them in a way that I'm asking them now to, all right, now think about this ideal client and think about, other things that we can do for them. So giving them an opportunity to work, because obviously they usually work on site with clients. So trying to give them an opportunity to work and earn, but also, realizing that they want to help and grow the business. So give them that opportunity as well. So other thing is standard operating procedures. We have them, we talk about them, we do everything a certain way. But it hasn't ever been pulled together and organized in a way that, I kind of want it in a nice, neat little box with a bow on it. So we've been working on that.
So that, just tying into our topic today of the benefits, the mental health benefits of organizing, for us as entrepreneurs, taking the time to work on our standard operating procedures, getting them documented, getting them organized, that is doing a lot for our own mental health. Because one of the things that I believe is going to happen is when the economy starts to open back up again and we go back to business at full speed ahead, if we're not organized, if we don't have our back end and our business organized, we are really going to struggle to get our teams back up to speed. And one of the interesting factors around that is if you have been operating at slow speed in your business, like revenue is really slowed down, your ability to get out there and serve your clients and customers has really slowed down, we kind of have fallen into a slower speed overall. So that ramp up is going to be even harder. So if we are organized, we will be much better positioned to capitalize on those opportunities that come our way as things start opening up again. So in our stress level as entrepreneurs, so much of that hinges on the disorganization in the back ends of our businesses. So what Andrea is talking about here is really key for our mental health as entrepreneurs.
Right. I really see it as peace of mind and insurance, that whole risk management. I mean, I have a risk management background, and I've been probably not, I definitely use it on a day-to-day basis with my clients, but maybe not so much or as much as I should have been on my business side. So I'm really trying to button up all of that a little bit more efficiently or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just trying to be productive. I don't ever, I'm never really bored. I don't have anything, I always have a long list of things to do. But I really want to just be able to get that nice, neat little binder box, whatever, with a bow. And just, that's really my goal. And then the other thing is hiring. I want to be in a really good position to ramp up, because I do hope that there is a material, just, I don't know, cannon, shot out of a cannon kind of thing. And I want to be ready for it. So.
Yeah. So one of the things that I know is you have been working over the last 6 months intensively on positioning Smartly Organized as an employer of choice, because even before coronavirus, you were aware I need to bring on team members to support and do more of what you've been shouldering on your own. And so coming out of the coronavirus event, one of the things that we are seeing, there's high rates of unemployment right now. So this is prime time to be thinking about, as my business grows in the future, what A players do I need on my team? What roles do I need to fill? And taking as many steps as possible in that process, using the how to hire the best strategies to position you as an employer of choice, so that when business picks up, you have people ready that you have screened and are ready to go to work for you, that you can make an offer to and bring them on board, so that your business is ready to meet the demand.
Yeah, as much as I like to be on site and doing, I can't do everything, on the business and in the business. So I'm looking for different levels of support. So I'm not going to start it quite yet. I still have at least another week or more to get through some of these other things. But it's definitely one of the things I'm working on. And, of course, in between all that, I read a ton of books. And, that just sometimes is good and bad, because, you get a ton of ideas. So reading Traction, which I think I got at the retreat.
Yes.
That was the book I chose from my cell phone challenge.
So
I've been reading that.
Let me explain that a little bit. When we were all together at the Breakthroughs on the Bayou retreat, one of the things that we do is the no cell phone challenge, so that we can all be fully present with each other. For many who are new to the retreat, dropping their cell phone in a basket for the entire day and it being whisked away, and not having access to their phone, that is the first time in many years they have been totally unplugged. So just developing that ability to unplug and focus on something for a period of time and be fully present with those around us is a new skill set for many. And you participated in the challenge. You made it through 4 days without accessing your cell phone, and all
during the day.
During the day. At night, we gave people their cell phones back. Maybe next year we'll up the challenge and keep cell phones.
Geez.
Maybe there'll be 2 levels, like people who give it up for the entire event versus people who just give it for the day.
People are going to be very angry at me.
But Andrea made it all the way through. And so we had books that all of our retreat participants recommended as a most impactful book that they had read that year. And those were in our Entrepreneur Success Library. And each person who won the No Cell Phone Challenge got to pick. And Andrea chose Traction by Gino Wickman. That is a phenomenal book. And it is a great book to read right now if you are wanting to get your business organized.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and also,
go ahead.
No, and also reading The Referral Engine, make another plug.
By John Jantz, who was with us at the retreat. Yeah, yep. Referral Engine, always great book.
Always nice to meet the author.
Yes, yeah.
So
Andrea, one of the things I want us to get into here is to talk about the mental health benefits of organizing during coronavirus. You wrote a blog post that I think was an excellent blog post about this on the Smartly Organized site. So tell us, in your experience, what are the mental health benefits of us getting organized?
Sure. Well, I think it's a really super productive way to manage stress. It's basically, I talked about earlier loving the before and afters, because that has you see the impact of your efforts and the transformation, and it's tangible. Sometimes we're working in these environments where we're writing SOPs or, sitting at a desk analyzing a credit or, doing something else that's not as tangible to see the results and the impact that it has on people. So organizing anything in your home, I think, is a really productive way to manage stress. It's a great way to get out of your head. We get so caught up in worry and, the news and the numbers and what we can do and all of the precautions we need to be taking, and just doing something a little bit out of the norm, is gets you sort of using your brain in a different way. And, you get the benefits of it being organized. So, just stepping away from your daily norm, I think is a good way to sort of clear your head, cleanse your palate, however you want to look at it, to get back and be refreshed on some other things. It's like exercise. You feel good after you exercise. It's the same kind of concept, because the transformation, you're a doctor, you know more about this than I do, probably from all of your psychology background. But there's a physical reaction when we exercise, and there's a physical reaction when we organize and regain control of a space. So
let me talk a little bit about that from a psychological perspective. Clutter drains our energy, and what we see in our visual field impacts how we feel. So when we have piles of this and that and it's scattered everywhere, it really is an energy drainer, and it keeps us from operating at our best capacity. It shuts down our creativity and our problem solving even. And so that feeling that we get when we look around an organized space and we just kind of feel like, that kind of release, I think that's what you're speaking to, that physical reaction that we have that has such an impact on us. And I was thinking about this topic as we were coming on today, and I'm thinking about how many of us are working in homes where we now have multiple family members working from home. Yeah. Kids who are homeschooling or not homeschooling, as in the case of my kids, they're just out. There's a lot of opportunities for clutter to just start accumulating everywhere, because we're very I think we all feel this. We're very disorganized right now in our lives because of coronavirus. Every routine that we have has been just kind of gone.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in what you just said. There's so many things that I could speak to that. How should I start? So if you have a cluttered environment, it's usually a reflection of a cluttered mind. And if you were trying to get something done or do deep thinking or just be generally productive in your life, there are tons of studies. Just even, looking at your refrigerator, if you've got magnets and things all over it and little whatever, my clients that have that generally have lots of other cluttered areas in their home, and they struggle with productivity, and they struggle with setting up systems for them to function properly, and they have all the negatives of being disorganized. So they're spending money, they've got duplicates of things, they're constantly running late, they've always got a fire drill with the kids, and when you, even if at steady state everybody's good, they go to school, they go to work, they go to the office, whatever, when you bring them all back into this home during this pandemic, and now if you don't have any systems in place, then nobody is going to necessarily take the lead on organizing. They're going to be like, well, they just left the dishes on the side of the sink or in the sink, or nobody put them in the dishwasher. Like, somebody has to sort of set the standard, so to speak, and make it like, this is how we do it here, kind of thing. Because there's this behavior that, well, if mom's not cleaning up or hanging up her coat or putting her shoes away or putting the dishes away, then I don't need to. So there's that whole modeling thing. That is really important when you think about how a house and a home functions. I have lots of little rules and routines that I try to impart to my clients that are just little ways for them to remember, and how to kind of maintain it, because really it should be relatively easy to maintain once you get to a steady state. But, if you are, very disorganized and cluttered in your home, it's going to take some effort to get to that steady state where you can sort of reset on a regular basis and have those routines in place so that things are not constantly, the wheels aren't coming off the cart.
I just want to offer here, one of the things that I learned about 7 or 8 years ago after reading David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, is I came to have a great appreciation for the need for everything to have a space that it belongs in. And so that any paperwork or just anything, any physical object that comes into my home needs to have a designated space that it goes to. And that really helped me understand how clutter was accumulating in my home to begin with, or in my office to begin with. So that just having that little bit of a framework in mind. But it took a long time to get to that steady state that you're describing.
Right. Clutter is usually delayed decisions, because you don't know what to do with it, because you haven't taken the time to assign a home. You don't know where it should live, so therefore you just put it here just for now or for later. And those kind of words, unless you come back to them, those piles will get bigger and bigger. So certainly, when you're thinking about a family working, everybody kind of moving around in their home, there's got to be sort of an attempt at the end of the day to sort of reset. And there's got to be some rules and routines kind of put in place. It's really challenging for people in this environment. I've seen, friends and colleagues, scanning their homes, and they've got young children, and stuff is everywhere. Dishes are piling up, and it's really hard, because they're trying to homeschool, and they're trying to maybe run their business, and they're trying to do all these things. And
so, you talk about the SMART reset. Can you tell us about what that is? Because I think that in and of itself can be a very, very helpful daily routine for all of us.
So the SMART reset is something that I do, and I encourage my clients to do, is sort of, and I use a lot of other words around that basically just gets you back to, a good starting point for the next day. So at night, you take, 15 or 20 minutes to reset your home for the next day, so that you can sort of start your day without a lot of clutter. So you put things away where they live. and you get back to sort of, ground, zero. So the next day when you start, you've either prepared the night before for that day. Unfortunately, we're not leaving our homes really that much right now, but ideally your kids' backpacks are ready, and maybe you've thought about their make sure they have all their schoolwork and an outfit picked out, and breakfast, even depending on your children. There are lots of different things that you can put in place to make that morning routine easy. And by doing that the night before, and by kind of resetting and putting things away, you're not, it's not, you don't have this constant overflow from the day before of all the stuff that's piling up, because doing it a few minutes every night is much easier than spending 2 days over the weekend trying to regain control of your whole home.
Oh, yes. And I know, having young kids myself, that if we don't do that kind of reset every day and we let it accumulate for a few days, they get very overwhelmed. When I ask them, go clean up your space, it's no longer clean up the counter. It is clean up the entire room or the entire house. And that's like, no, it's, they freeze. And so it's much easier, I find, to get them to do one little bit at a time. The other thing that you touched on is the importance of routine, even during this coronavirus event. And I remember last week having a conversation with multiple people who were commenting on, I've gotten back to setting my alarm every day at a certain time, showering and getting dressed and getting out of my yoga pants or whatever, and really just being in that role and that old routine of things, and how helpful that can be for just our psyche, but also getting kids to do that as well. So if they've been getting up at 9 or 10, as my kids have been doing, getting them back to a regular, like, you go to bed at this time and you get up at this time, just to help everyone get into that space of routine. Routine is grounding for us during times of high stress like we're all under right now.
I absolutely agree with that, and have always thought that, people have, habits are great, but they have a lot, people have their negative habits, and habits and routines, if they're positive for you, help you when, the world is really, crazy, when things are upside down. I like to think that, if I have just habits and routines and things that I do on a regular basis, then when something gets really stressful, my whole world isn't going to fall apart. I'm still going to get the dishes done. I'm still going to get the laundry done. I'm still going to, have these things that I just do because they're part of my routine, and it actually makes everything else easier. So a lot of times people think of these things as very negative. They hate doing these things. But if you, think about the result, and, how satisfying it is to have all the laundry done and folded and put away, and it's just done. I mean, you're going to have to do it every week, but if you, dread it, attach it to, some other positive thing, like one of very, traditional habit forming things, associate it with something more positive. Do it with a podcast, which I do a lot.
Profit by Design podcast, I highly recommend for laundry sorting.
But there's, tons of ways to make these, chores and tasks that we do on a regular basis more interesting. So they don't have to be so dreaded and avoided, and you can sort of look forward to them, but also knowing that you just do them, and you can almost do them in a mindless way sometimes. So that you can be processing other things. You're doing something physical, you're getting it done, but your brain is working on other things and helping you cope. Anyway, I've always also sort of found that, if, when I had a less than stellar day at work in my corporate life, if I came home and, took advantage, just like regain control of some small space, whether it was, tidying up as I changed out of my work clothes, tidying up, my closet, or, when I put my kids to bed, tidying up their books and their toys and doing whatever. Those small little activities helped me sort of control something, right? If work was, terrible, and whatever's going on in the world is terrible, we can't control it necessarily, but we can control our own little world. We can control our stuff. And when our stuff controls us, that's the problem. We want to be able to control the stuff. We want to be able to be in charge of where it lives, what I have, how it is managed.
Yeah.
And certainly being cluttered means that you have to, everything requires maintenance. Whatever you have in your home requires some amount of time, money, energy, cleaning, whatever. So it was always something, and that was one of the reasons why I ended up in this industry, because it really does have a good positive feeling.
So we
and
have,
I found myself leaning on it.
in relation to this, Andrea, we have a really good question that's come in from Steve Bousquet, and that is, how do we decide to throw stuff out? And he specifically is asking about paper and collectibles.
So that's an interesting question. Paper is either you need it for archival purposes, you have to save it because it's, you know, a legal document of some sort, or maybe it's action item you need to respond. You know, it's got knock-on effect, whatever that piece of paper is, or you've acted on it and you can just let it go. If you're talking about memorabilia paper, that might be, I don't know, cards and letters and notes and things like that, that might have, you know, something that is a genuine, authentic, personal note. You know, when you get a birthday card that just says happy birthday, love, you know, so-and-so, and it's just the greeting and there's no special note, you know, toss it. You don't need it. But if there's a handwritten note from your, you know, deceased parent, maybe that's worth keeping, and maybe you need to figure out where those items should live. I need to know more about Steve's paper issue. But usually it's, it's 80-20 rule. And once we file something, we very rarely go back to it.
That's interesting. So how does the 80-20 rule apply when it comes to paper?
It's sort of that whole, you know, we only need, we refer to 20% of our paper 80% of the time, right? So we save far more. I don't know if I said that right, but we save far more than we need. You know, we file. People get caught up with this idea of filing and saving.
Yeah.
And there's tons of ways to either go paperless or just, you know, the paper might be a prompt for you to do something, but then when you've done it, you can just let it go. Or you can just reduce the volume by digitizing it.
I got it.
So it really depends on what his paper issue is.
Yeah.
I can talk to you later, Steve.
Yeah. Andrea, I'll give you a call later to talk about that. So Andrea, how can folks get help with organizing, given that you can't be with them in their space right now? I know you've been working on some very creative solutions.
Virtual organizing is a thing. So while everyone is going online and doing virtual exercise classes and you know, whatever else is being offered virtually, organizing is actually a well tested product, that it's a service that people have been selling. I have a few clients that I've done it with, but it's not my core business. So it's not something that has been really marketed. It's not something that a lot of my clients know that I do, but I can work with somebody and do it for friends all the time. I'm like, you know, FaceTime me and I'll help you figure out, you know, how to regain control of your basement, attic, garage, whatever. So we can offer virtual organizing services. It's really for somebody that might be in need of some inspiration. They don't know how to start their project. They're a little overwhelmed, but if they have, you know, a couple good starting points, maybe they can, you know, run with it. Maybe they just need some accountability. Maybe they need to know, you know, sort of some of the strategies of tackling a space. And so working with them virtually over Zoom or iPhone or whatever, we can just talk through, work that process, and then they go and actually physically do the work themselves. So there's accountability.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous value and very helpful, because I know for myself, when I've inhabited a space for a long period of time, I just kind of see it the way it is, and I've stopped seeing the possibilities. So, you know, we talk about this a lot at Tap the Potential, the value of having that outside perspective, because we start to develop tunnel vision and we don't see the opportunities around us. So someone like yourself, who you can just show a video camera of what's going on in the space that you want to organize, and you can identify there's an opportunity to do this, and there's an opportunity to do that. And you could use these types of containers. And that's something, I remember one retreat you joined us with, and you talked about the packs that you can put into a suitcase to help compress luggage. And I went out and I got those. I think several of our retreat participants started doing that. And I had no awareness of that previously, that was an option, but it made a huge impact. So this type of virtual organizing, in addition to what you just touched on, the accountability, right? Because if no one's accountable, if no one's checking in with us, if we're getting it done, it's just another thing to let slide off the plate.
Organizing, some people are naturally organized. They get the organizing gene. Others just need to learn and practice it. And it's very learnable, right? You can decide to, be organized, and you can decide to learn the skills. And a lot of organizers that are out there, did start in sort of a disorganized way, and they sort of realized, the benefits of it themselves, and they have that story. My story is different, but I still think that, just walking through the space and having that second set of eyes, and how I would approach it, the whole process is that we map out a plan, and it's a step-by-step, and we transfer those skills on how to organize. Very often I am doing it with the person, and sometimes when that's happening side by side, the skill transference is not as deep. So when you are doing it on your own and you're trying to apply something you've been taught, and then you're reading some notes, and then you're doing it yourself, you've got 3 opportunities to sort of reinforce the skill. Whereas it's much faster in person, where it might not really kind of sink in, and you might not have that same learning experience.
That is a really good point, and it really speaks to the value of going through the process ourselves. So that's another gift that comes out of this time, is that we may learn some new organizing skills that could impact us the rest of our lives if we take the time to do that. So if someone wanted to do a virtual organizing session with you, how would they get in contact with you for that?
They could email me at andrea@smartlyorganized.com. And it's really very flexible. It's far more flexible than in person, because it's an hour session. And then the follow-up work that they're doing is, somewhat at their convenience. I mean, there is some structure and accountability put in. It's not like they can, we want to reinforce the learning. But it's, basically, an hour at a time. And, you're not going to have your whole project done in necessarily an hour, unless you're really a DIY person and we're just doing here's how I'd lay out the room, and that person can run with it. Someone that's really going to enjoy this is someone that's going to want to learn and then do themselves. And then they're going to have someone come back and tweak and work with them and keep them accountable and motivated. But they physically want to do the work. They don't have any physical limitations. There's also, a lot of times people are a little embarrassed or ashamed of their spaces. So a virtual organizing session allows them to control that a lot more, so they can only show me what they want to show me. So, they can just show me one section of the room, and we work on that. And I don't know what's going on anywhere else in the room, and then we can, move around. So that's really very helpful for a lot of people that, need organizing help.